Okay, today's problem is electrical. Last night, sitting there watching YouTube, matter of fact, and heard a weird popping sound. Couldn't quite identify what it was and discovered that this light bulb here blew and the switch controlling it tripped the breaker. So I don't know if the dimmer switch was at fault and caused the breaker to pop, and that's the issue, or the bulb blowing is the issue. So we're going to check it out and find out. Here is the bulb, the condition of the bulb that came out of that socket. You can see there's a short up there. This thing is burned. The contact is pretty much melted, and this bulb was in this socket right here. I'm shining a flashlight up in there now so you can see. So you can see also how the contact up there is kind of burned and melted. So I'm going to have to get up in there and see what we got. I'll show you how to take this type of canned light out. It's a little different to modern ones I've seen available in the store, so I'll show you how it works. You can see there's two little gray or black clips. Those are like little springs, and they protrude out inside the can, and this fixture is essentially held in place by the spring action of both of those. So we're going to release those two clips and get the trim piece out of there and take a look inside the can. Here's a close-up of what we're looking at. So I'm about to use the screwdriver and pry on these black clips. There are two of them, and that will release the trim piece from the connector, which is attached to the can. You'll see that in a second. And these would just pry off. There you go. You can see how this clip is attached on this side. So you see the two little prongs there inside, attaches to that. So this is what we're looking at. So as we lower it, that's our assembly. That's inside the original can. I'm going to put this down and free up this connector. We're going to have to replace this connector. Look at it. It's in too bad a condition to even think about reusing. So I might have to replace this whole unit. Let's investigate further. While I'm at it, I want to show you that this little clip here I'm acting on with the screwdriver. There's one on either side. That's what attaches the connector to this piece of trim. So I'm going to put the camera down, pop both of those loose, one on each side. You can see the other one over here. That will release the connector from the trim and allow me to separate them. Here's a look at the trim piece removed. You can see those two spring clamps. So as you push this up inside the can, those are squeezed against the sides and prevented from falling out. And now let's take a look at the connector. So you can see how there's a clip either side of this connector, and those are popped inside the trim. So really the way to do it is to pop these clips back first and release the connector, and then manipulate those two black spring clips to pull the trim piece out. So here's what we're looking at. This is the can, and you see the wires disappear in through the ceiling there. So we're going to pull this part out. This can is held inside an assembly that's attached to the ceiling joist. So we're going to remove that because I'm going to replace this connector, and I need to perhaps go back to the box attached to the ceiling joist up there. So we'll see how far I have to go. But at first I'm going to take this piece out and see what that shows. Okay, that can was held to the assembly up there with three little screws like this. I believe they're 1/4 inch head, or you could also use a flathead screwdriver. So we've removed those, and now this assembly slides down out of the ceiling, and it's screwed into a housing up there, and you see the electrical box where this is wired to. So let's see what I have to do to replace this connector. Okay, for reference, this is actually what's inside the ceiling. This is a new one. I got this at Lowe's for $8, I think. So if you were up in the ceiling looking at what's in there, this is what you'd see. So what we've removed is this part from the old assembly. It's slid down, and you see there's some flexibility in the cable. And as I stare into the hole up there, I see this box. And this is attached with this little spring clip here. So once you get that off, you have some instructions and you have access to the wiring. So I think what I'm going to do is go this far and replace this entire assembly, including the wiring harness, back to this box where the house wires are connected, so operated by the switch. So that is the plan, and this one comes with a connector. As we see, connector may not be the right word, socket may be a better word, but this style will accommodate our original trim piece. So you can see how these are the screws. There's one 1/4 inch head screw. It's almost identical to the one we've taken out. There's another right there and a third one right here. So essentially we're replacing the guts of this whole affair. This is what it would have looked like new when they built the house, and obviously this here stretches between the studs and is attached to secure it into position. So first of all I'm going to turn the breaker off, check for power, and then we'll see what's inside that box upstairs. Okay, here's the electrical box in the ceiling. You can see how actually this isn't attached properly. That clip should be shoved into the box for strain relief, or perhaps it came loose when I was lowering the can. But this is the box the household wiring goes to. Let's pop this clip off here. Take that out and see what we got. So there's our house wiring attached to the wiring from the fixture. So I'm going to replace this whole can and socket and the wiring all the way back to the box. The easiest way out of it. So let's go shut the power off first and then check to make sure nothing's hot and then get to work. Now as you can see, none of these wires are registering as hot right now. But remember, my problem is either the fixture or the light switch. So rather than taking a chance and doing this live, I'm going to turn the breaker off, and in case there's a problem at the switch, that reveals itself while I'm handling the wiring. Better be safe than sorry. So I've turned the switch on just to show the difference, and we have a hot wire right there, of course. And if this socket was working properly and the bulb, we would have light, but that is not the case. So I'm going to turn the switch off and the breaker. Okay, our new insert is assembled, and you can see I've got it connected into the box in there, and I undid the wire connectors from the old stuff. Those orange ones, Klein House is the brand. Couldn't find much about it online. Obviously you do not want to reuse push-in connectors. The orange one is the original. I'm going to try these yellow ones from Ideal. I got at Home Depot. I've read different things online about using wire nuts or push-in connectors. So I'm going to clean up the ends of the wires I pulled out of the connectors and push them into the new connectors and see how that goes. So this is where we're at right now. Okay, we're wired up in new connectors. Remember, you don't want to see any copper, any bare copper. The instructions say to strip a 1/2 inch of bare wire and shove that in the connector. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I kind of like how these connectors are transparent, and can you see that it's almost impossible to see the gray braided wire, but the You see those copper solid wires? You can see all the way pushed up inside the connector. So I kind of like that feature. So that's that. So I'm going to turn the power on and check and make sure my connections are good before we finish putting it all back together. I'm going to reuse the cover for this box. Remember, this is our new can and connector here. Ready to be reassembled. Alright, we're all set now. I did run into one problem. The new can, the insert, was slightly bigger than the fitting in the ceiling. So I had to take the wiring out of, and the socket out of the old one. It was pretty straightforward. I just had to go back to the box, remove the connectors, pull the wires through, and get rid of the new insert, and then took the wire from the old can, and actually this is from the new one, and it's slightly shorter than the old one, so I actually grabbed the one from the old one, which is a little longer, and reused that. That gave me a little bit more flexibility up there. So that was the one setback, but we're good now. It's in and it's done. Thanks for watching.